if someone in power says something repeatedly, whether it's accurate or factual or not, it can affect people's perception. So one question I want you to address parents and other concerned taxpayers about is, what specifically have you done or changed to prevent another embezzlement case like the one that Mr. Walters has focused quite a bit of attention on the last couple of weeks? In maybe specific layman's terms, like what reassurance can you give them about what you did to make sure that doesn't happen again on your watch?
Well, I think the first thing that I would say, and I've been hesitant to talk about the details, and I still won't talk about the details, because what matters most is that justice prevails and that the investigation happens in the way that it should, and that, that ultimately that justice is served. But to say a little bit more than I typically have, I think what's important for Tulsans to know is that this was not easy for this individual to do what he did. A lot of times when we use the word embezzlement, it might come across as this, like somebody sort of wrote themselves a check or something along those lines. We do have internal controls in our district. The situation that we have that occurred with our former employee is that it was someone in our district who was a very senior level person who both knew how the system worked, but also who had authority within the system. In collaboration with people outside the district, there was the creation of what you might consider like a shell company with work that was then presented by the company and by this senior level individual, that work that was going to happen to benefit the young people of Tulsa. I think most Tulsans know that it was mostly philanthropic dollars that were used. That doesn't matter because those dollars were intended to serve children. But that was how it was done with multiple outside individuals, it appears, allegedly. And so I say that just to say that it's important for Tulsans to know that we do have internal controls. What we've done since that happened is to make sure that we strengthen those internal controls so that no one can ever again in our district, even someone with that kind of positional authority, no one can ever again take advantage of our system. So specifically what that would look like is, first of all, more training and confirming of people on our team what expectations we have about following the policies that are already in place, but also strengthening some things like the extent of vetting that happens of a company that has a purchase order in place for work, requiring much more detail in the invoicing process that goes through and the kind of levels of approval of the work and so forth.
Okay. Like I said at the outset, there's been quite a bit of target placed on you personally by our state superintendent. He talks about you by name. He talks about your number of years with the district, your tenure here, and says he thinks you've had long enough and he's not satisfied with the outcomes after that period. Would removing yourself from the picture spare TPS from the state takeover? And is that something that you've had to consider or think about in these last 2 weeks of being targeted in that way publicly by someone in power with authority to do things to this school district?
I think that anyone who in Tulsa who knows me or has watched our work or has seen me talk about our district knows that nothing matters more to me than the success of Tulsa kids, than the strength of our school district and the city as a whole, just the city where I grew up, the schools I attended, where my family all lives. So what I know is that the team and I, including our locally elected board, have so much that we are proud about, and Tulsans should be too. We have evidence, as the kids say, the receipts of the work that we have done. We can share that, and we do share that. So we have lots of evidence of growth of all of those higher level courses for our students, the way in which we have focused our professional development around the science of reading and making sure that the strength of that is solidly in place in our district. And we've been doing that for a number of years now, making sure that we are adjusting our schedules so that at that elementary level, children are getting the more personalized support for the areas where they need additional support, and that may not be just in their classroom, as it's designed, but rather that we're using the data that we have about their performance to target the kind of instruction that we know that they need. And at the upper levels, starting in middle school, that we've arranged our schedules so that there's a block of time for students to get extra intervention if they need that, or enrichment if that is where they are. So there is so much that we have already done, and it takes a tremendous amount of time to put all this in place, especially when all the parts are moving. So when I came home to Tulsa, Oklahoma had just done away with the standards that they were using. The standards are the things that a state says that children need to know and be able to do at different age levels and in different classes. And we didn't have any in Oklahoma. They didn't exist. And so our state superintendent, who had been elected not much longer before I got here, Joy Hoffmeister, pulled together a group of educators, and they spent years, because that's what it takes to put new standards into place. And then once new standards are in place, then a school district has to ensure that their curriculum and their professional development is aligned to the standards. And so all of that was happening from 2015 to 2019, say. And during all of that time, we were demonstrating the work that we were doing, the increases in performance, the addition of new opportunities for our students, the addition of choice for families, the unified enrollment system that we put into place so that families had more information about and more access to courses, schools all across Tulsa. So all of that was happening. Our graduation rate right before the pandemic was almost at 80%. It was like 78.8 or 9, I believe, so almost 79%. Which had come from, when I was moving home to Tulsa, was 63%. So we had made tremendous gains by a lot of different measures. And then we all took a step with the pandemic back. And when I say that, I don't mean just Tulsa. I mean the whole state of Oklahoma and the whole country. That it was very disruptive for young people and educators in every school district, in every school across the country. And so we've been, since that time, we've been working to get things back on track. We've seen increases in our student, their growth in their reading growth. We've seen increases in our enrollment, even though we lost enrollment, like other districts. And so we know that we are getting things back on track. The idea that the solution for where we are is more disruption is completely unfounded.
So no, the answer is no. You haven't considered leaving to take the target off the bat because you don't think that's the solution.
I think the solution is stability, and I think the solution is a locally elected school board making decisions about our local public schools. That's the solution. And stability matters. And what we know about school districts, especially large urban school districts, for whom the challenges are much more significant, that we know that stability in leadership is hugely important. And I think that that is what matters for Tulsa, is not about me personally, but about Tulsa being able to continue and grow and get better and better, but to do that in a way that is driven by Tulsans. That's what matters most.
And has it affected teacher hiring? I know you guys always have, like a lot of districts, but particularly in the urban center, a lot of last-minute vacancies to fill. Have you had teachers drop back out of being hired? And how has it affected parents and the questions that they have?
I think that most people are aware, but they are doing what we're doing, which is staying focused on children. So for a family, that means focusing on what are the supplies we need, when is scheduled pickup, when do we meet our teacher, what are the uniform or dress code requirements, and all of the exciting parts that come with the back to school time. Similarly, at the district, we're staying focused on making sure that we're opening schools on Thursday safely and successfully. There is no question that this effort is timed in a way that is more disruptive than it would have even been at any other time of year. And I think that is not just unfortunate, it is it's just unacceptable. We have, as a district, hired more than 400 teachers for this school year, and are getting those folks onboarded and in place so that they're ready to greet our students on the first day of school. We have lost teachers because of this, and when I heard the state superintendent at one point say something even quite explicit about teachers should leave, these are not the actions, and those are not the words of someone who is keeping the students in the center. When you are making all of your decisions based on what's in the best interest of children, you don't do things like that. And what I've experienced is a state superintendent whose moral compass is one that he doesn't seem concerned with taking the truth and totally reworking it, and to the point of things are just completely lies. The most recent being, he made a comment that we had the lowest graduation rate in the state, just absolutely not the case. And I hope that Tulsa and others in Oklahoma will hold him accountable for the sources for the information and the things that he is saying, because we ask that of our students. I spent time earlier today with our library media specialists, and it's their responsibility in working with our students and also with their colleagues in our schools to help to teach people about the importance of substantiating claims that you're making or things that you're writing about. That's one of the jobs they have. And so here we have someone in a position of formal authority who is not holding himself accountable for what he is saying. And I think, therefore, the rest of us have to do that for him.